All right, good morning and welcome to our annual Alumni Leaders on Campus Day. We're excited to bring this panel discussion to you virtually. This program is a collaboration between the Office of Alumni Relations and the College of Arts and Sciences and celebrates our alumni who are doing such great things in their respective facets of the industry. We have some amazing alumni here to speak with you today, and we're so grateful that they've taken time out of their very busy schedules to be here. I know that you'll find their experiences and stories inspiring. If you have questions for the alumni, please enter it in the Q&A section and we will get to as many as we can towards the end of the program. Okay, so to begin, alumni, please take a moment to introduce yourselves and share your major, the year you graduated, your current position, and a brief description of what you do. So what I'll do is we'll begin with Taylor, and I'll just kind of go in the order of how the boxes are on my screen, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, Taylor.
Hi, so I'm Taylor. I graduated with my undergraduate degree in counseling psych in 2017, and then I graduated with my master's in 2018. I currently hold an LMHC, which is a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and I'm a third-year doctorate student up at William James in Boston. Studying neuropsychology and doing an emphasis on autism research. I am working at a private practice in Rhode Island, doing work with just overall mental health, as well as I run my own private practice in Boston.
Well, thank you, Taylor. Tayla.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tayla Bolduc. I graduated in 2020 with a media and communications degree. I currently work as a production assistant for the Worcester Red Sox in Worcester, Massachusetts. They are the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. As a production assistant, I do a variety of different things. I spent a lot of the past season in the control room working on in-game production, technical directing, graphics, stuff like that. Occasionally they would stick me on a camera, like a television broadcast camera. So I would work on the broadcast side, which was broadcast on Nessun or Nessun Plus. In addition to that, I occasionally did some photography for social media content, photographing batting practice, games, different events around the ballpark, stuff like that.
Wonderful, thank you. Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon. I graduated in 2016 with a degree in liberal studies, a minor in business. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Rhode Island, where I study English literature. And I work as a marketing project manager for a tech startup in New Jersey. Currently, the project that I'm working on is shaping the brand identity for the startup itself. So really cool, an opportunity to wear a lot of hats.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Andrew.
I'm Andrew Stockhecker. I graduated from Johnson Wales in 2015 with a degree in criminal justice, minor in psychology. I currently work for United States Capitol Police in Washington, D.C. We basically just protect Congress, the Capitol complex, and all staff and visitors that work there. I was there on January 6th. Just deal with a lot of mostly security screening, police work in and around the Capitol complex, and just making sure everything stays in order and safe there at all times.
Wonderful, thank you. Ignacio.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ignacio Borja. I'm a 2018 undergraduate and 19 MBA. Before I start, I saw that Christopher Westgate's on the panel looking somewhere, so I want to say a shout out to one of my favorite professors there. And so I graduated in 2019 from my MBA. And I work in insurance. I work in insurance for mergers and acquisitions, private equity, venture capital, hedge funds, and other financial lines. So basically what we do, and my job right now, I just got relocated from New York to Toronto to take care of international accounts and cross-border deals. And basically what we ensure is when a buyer acquires a company or shares in a company or an asset in a company, then the seller provides that buyer with representations and warranties on the condition of the actual company. So when the buyer acquires that company, if something is wrong in their financials and there's litigation somewhere, tax exposure or whatnot, then the buyer down the road could have millions of dollars in losses. So we cover up to limits of $40 million and build towers up to 500, $300 million with other insurers, and provide coverage to the biggest conglomerates that you see. So it's a very interesting career, very dynamic, always learning, and you're exposed to very, very big people. So it's great, and I'm really happy with what I'm doing, and happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Wonderful, thank you. And Christy.
Having some technical difficulties this morning. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Christy Candrilli. I currently work at Lone Beacon, a financial marketing agency in Boston, as a digital buyer. And basically what we do is we run Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram campaigns for our clients, which are smaller financial advisors. So we advertise for them different programs, maybe running about retirement or 401k plans. And I've learned so much about that, which is important, but also about what makes a successful campaign, how much money goes into advertising. And it's just been a really great experience. And this is my first 8 months there, but everybody on my team is Johnson & Wales alumni, and they wanted me to make sure I mentioned that. It's really exciting and awesome.
That's so amazing. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for coming today and introducing yourselves. Instead of kind of keep going through the blocks and having everyone kind of take their time, I think if we just kind of organically answer these questions, I think we'll go a little bit better. So my first question, if anyone would like to talk about their first job after graduation and how that job led to other opportunities and maybe how it led to where you are today.
Oh, I have one. I started working when I graduated from college. I started working at the Providence Bruins, which is the AHL affiliate for the Boston Bruins, because I love hockey, and my first passion is going to be to go into sports, which is still something I want to pursue, but it's a little bit different where I am right now. And that's where I learned everything about social media, which is super important to my job now, especially with LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. But the funniest part is my current boss, the reason he chose me for the interview is because he's a Boston Bruins fan, so Providence Bruins, and he's a Johnson & Wales alumni. So it's funny how all of that worked together to get me where I am.
That's amazing. That's really funny. And I love to see how the Johnson & Wales Alumni Network connection has really helped you. So thank you for that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to go. So I was an international student at JWU, and my first internship was actually in Colombia in an insurance company. I was learning about claims, and I didn't like it, so I reached out to the person. I was like, I need to find another field here. So they took me out to underwriting and property and casualty. And while I was in that first year, this was my transition from freshman to sophomore. While I was in the internship, I knew there was an event, a company event, and that that the CEO from the London office was going to be there. So what I did was I actually did some background research on the guy, learned read the annual reports for the company in London, the annual reports for us in Colombia. Like, I studied my things, and then I went to this meeting with him, and to this event, and I looked for him, found him, and he was like, wait, you know your stuff. I like what you're talking. We spoke for hours, and then at the end, he was like, I want you to come work with me in London. And I ended up working with him in London my next year in an internship with him. And that's when I decided that I wanted to pursue something near the legal career. And from there, I did some courses in the Harvard Extension School, which led me to go into the legal department the year after that in a company called Chubb in New York. And from there, I also did the same. I looked at the heads and looked for the heads of the different departments, researched them, and I reached out and I was like, I want to meet you. And that led me, and eventually I ended up doing my MBA. And during my MBA, I reached out to these individuals, and one of them became the CEO of the company that I am actually working on. So I reached out to him again, and I was like, hey, I want to work with you. And he's like, well, it was great meeting you before, and you're a prepared guy, so we'll put you up in the interview process. And I ended up doing mergers and acquisitions. And so it's right in line with the legal work that I like to do, and with the business. So that's how everything started, reaching out and putting myself out there. So.
That's really important. Thank you for telling everyone how important homework is. You need to do your homework, you need to do your research. But I really like how you kept making a point that you really put yourself out there. And when you do put yourself out there, that you're prepared to do so. So thank you for that. Anyone else want to talk about what has led to where they are today in their career?
I mean, I'll go. I don't have as detailed or good of a story, I guess. While I was at Johnson & Wales, I kind of realized I transitioned from a counseling psychology major into criminal justice after my freshman year. Then kind of knew I wanted to go into federal law enforcement. So I kind of just started looking at the stepping stones I needed to create that path for me to get into federal law enforcement. So I joined the Navy Reserves while I was actually at university. I went to boot camp in my A school for the Navy during the summer and fall trimester. So I took off during that time. I was a cryptologic technician in the Navy. So I was split my time between school and NSA in Maryland. I dealt with coding and tracking, primarily piracy cells off the Western African coast. So I kind of just got my interest going with the intelligence side of things. So I knew federal law enforcement has a big intelligence program. There's so many different facets you can go in the federal law enforcement program. Right when I graduated college at Johnson & Wales, I just wanted to get in the federal system as kind of quickly as possible. Like I said, just kind of building stepping stones for myself. So I went to TSA in Boston just to get my career started, because with federal law enforcement, you can apply for a job and the processes can take a year to 3 years before you actually get a start date for a job. So I just wanted to start somewhere quickly in the federal system, kind of boost my resume a little bit. And with the federal system, especially, the day you start in the federal system, it tacks on to your retirement. Even if you go to another federal department, you can tack that time that you worked in the federal government prior to the end of your time to get you more retirement. So I was only at Boston TSA for 9 months. It took about a year and a half before I started with United States Capitol Police. I went down there at the beginning of 2017, and I just started my 5th year there now.
Well, Andrew, I think that's a really fascinating story. I think every one of you have a fascinating story, and it definitely shows that each of you took ownership in making and taking each one of your steps to where you are today. So I thank you for that. Taylor or Shannon and Tayla, would you like to share any steps that you took to get to where you are today?
So, excuse me, during my degree, I had to do a mandatory internship, which Professor Villari helped me out with. He advised my internship, which was a mini series, like a mini docu-series on wildlife for children. So I shot, produced, wrote, directed, edited, all of that myself. It was just me and another biology student who was also completing her internship for her degree. And that kind of set a foundation for my skills going into what I wanted to do, which I didn't have a totally solid idea. I just knew that I loved media production and I knew I loved baseball. So I wanted to find a way to combine those. I applied for an internship at the Pawtucket Red Sox before they moved, obviously. And I got that internship before the pandemic started. And then obviously minor league baseball season was canceled that year. So I did not get to pursue my internship. But I kept in contact with my director and I was persistent about if there was anything I could do to help him with any projects, social media, whatever I could do to help. I was there and I was available. So that fall came around and at the ballpark, they were doing some dining on the diamond events. So I was able to work a couple of those, which kind of secured my position for Worcester. And I've been enjoying it. And this is, I think I've actually, I know I found my calling in a control room at a ballpark. So
That's
yeah.
Wonderful. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme here of persistence and internships. So kind of following on that theme, is there anything else anyone would like to add that the university has done to help prepare you for a successful career?
I can step in. So for me, I was able to graduate with my master's being hired from my internship. And I got my internship through a professor at Johnston Wales, which was a professor that I had during my undergrad and as well as transitioned into my master's program. So it was a great transition into actually working in the field and then providing me a paying position afterwards. And the fact that there was growth within the role that I was in, as well as support from not only the university, but just from my professors and then now my employer at the time to understand what I needed to do in order to further my career, getting my hours in order to get my licensure, and then pushing me forward to get my PsyD in my doctorate program. So that was a really great transition into a paying position. From there, I worked with a lot of different other supervisors and made connections in that field, then which got me into working in addictions, which was my my concentration in my majors. I was an addiction concentration major, and worked within the methadone clinics, helping individuals that were on methadone mile and working with heroin and fentanyl and cocaine, other substances, giving different types of treatments, Vivitrol, Suboxone, methadone. And yeah, from there kind of led me into gaining my hours to get my LMHC to open up my own private practice, and then getting into a lot of other opportunities within my doctorate program to help me just pursue this neuropsych degree that I'm in right now.
Anyone else want to share experiences or ways in which the university helped prepare you for a successful career?
Yeah. So as I said, I was an international student. So as an international student, we have a bit of a different approach in how much work we can do in the US and with college and everything. So the university, all my internships, as I told before, they weren't through the university. So when the time came to start the internships, the university had to figure out how we had to like go over all the obstacles in order for me to be able to participate these and keep my visa in the actual like compliant, right? So the university, like the deans helped me out. Like I reached out to the deans when the first time I looked at like one of these, I was like, I want to do this. And they're like, well, you can't. And so I reached out to the dean, and the dean actually was like, well, we're going to figure out for you a way for you to do it. And they worked around it, and we were able to get through it and work with it. So they, if you look out for help, they're always there to help you. And I think that another thing that was really important for me was the fact that the staff, and the professors were all very supportive, and they were, if you look out for them, they're gonna look out for you. You know, like as I mentioned, I had a really good relationship with Christopher Westgate, for example. I was actually, and my transition to my MBA, I was planning to go to law school, and he was one of the recommendations that I asked for. But then my career took a turn and got boosted towards another way, so I just went that way. But they were always very helpful, and if you interact with them and make part of and become interested in them, they're going to show the same interest for you. And I think that the small classes in J gave you a lot of opportunity to do that, and I think that was a great step for my career. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Shannon, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think pinging off of what Ignacio had said, the university's emphasis on interdisciplinary studies, really like how fields relate to each other, and then how classroom learning impacts either professional or day-to-day life has been hugely helpful for me, particularly because I was working full-time and earning my degree as a continuing ed student. So being able to like link what was happening in the classroom after a day of work and like preparing for the next day of work was very helpful for me. And I would just also echo the sentiment that my professors were incredible champions for me. As a continuing ed student, I really struggled to like balance my workload, and those professors were nothing short of supportive, and also really pushed for me to look into graduate studies, which I'm currently pursuing, but I don't think I would have if I hadn't had professors in my corner that believed in my ability, appreciated my writing, pushed me to do more. So I'm so appreciative of my professors, some of whom are in the attendee list today. Hello. That really encouraged me to do more than I might have otherwise.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for acknowledging some of your faculty here today. I know I'm a bit biased, but I know how amazing our faculty are. So I really thank all of you for acknowledging them as well. So thank you. So I'm going to move on to another question. Something we all discuss as we get older is the old, if I knew then what I know now. The audience and I would like to hear what you would have done differently during your undergraduate years and how it might have helped you. This might be working part-time, taking different or extra courses, joining certain clubs, anything that you feel that now looking back, when your time at Johns Wales, would you have done anything different?
Yeah, actually, I would have retaken stats. it was my lowest grade in my university. I graduated magna cum laude, but that was the only class that dragged me down because I just couldn't get it through my head. And I had the opportunity to I passed it, but not with the best grade. And I wanted, and just because I was in a rush to graduate, I didn't retake it. And I think that would, an extra semester, an extra term, don't rush it. One, it's the best time of your lives, for sure. Because after that, everything changes. You're going to be work is going to take up most of your life, and just the dynamics and relationships you have, they're not going to that's the best time for sure. And then secondly, as I said, it was the rush, just you want to get to that next step and be there. And I think that if I would have taken a step back and seen it as, all right, take your time, do your things better, it would have been a better approach. But yeah, so that's what I would have done differently.
Wonderful. I love that. Anyone else?
Yeah, sure. So I was a commuter student. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time on campus. I went to class, I went to work, I went home. And I think looking back, I probably would have made more of an effort to make more friends who lived on campus, because all of my friends were also commuter students. So we didn't have a dorm to hang out in or anything. Of course, we had the commuter den, but it's not the same thing, So I would have done that. I would have made an effort to stay on campus more probably. And also, I think during my junior year was when I had that internship with Professor Villari. At that time, I was working 2 part-time jobs, the internship, and taking 4 classes on top of that. And it was just a very, very overwhelming and exhausting time in my life. So I think that I probably would have scaled back just a little bit, just to prioritize my physical and my mental health, because obviously I made it through it. So it's probably fine. But I think that prioritizing your mental health more is very important when it comes to life in general.
I would agree. Absolutely. Christy, anything you would like to share with us?
I totally agree with you. I feel like my junior year is when I took on way too much, but I feel like I wish I had taken on more my freshman and sophomore year, because I didn't have to do, I could have spread it out, but I think my freshman and sophomore years, I also changed my major, which Professor Westgate and Professor Villari helps me do, which I really appreciated, because I started as a sports and events major. And then I realized that ultimately I really wanted to just be communications in general, because I could do then whatever I wanted with social media or Facebook. And that was the direction I wanted to go in. So I feel like if I took more time to realize that there were other resources, I could have talked to people earlier about what I wanted to do, I probably wouldn't have been so back and forth my freshman and sophomore year.
That's really good advice. Thank you. Taylor, Andrew, anything you guys would like to add?
I can add in the fact that I feel like a big thing for me was make use of office hours. I don't think we emphasize that enough, but making use of office hours is not just for homework or tests or quizzes or papers. For me, the connections that I made with my professors really launched my career as a psychologist. And those were made off of just genuine conversations that I had, and them giving me time to pick their brain. And I don't think that as an undergrad student, I took the office hours as an opportunity to speak to my professors as people and to get their input on things that I could do within the career and not just help on a paper. So I really feel like if I could go back telling my younger self to really make connections with the professors in a space that we can talk freely and have conversations about what their experience has been and where they can see me and what I have to do to prepare for my future, because they've been there, would be a really, really helpful thing to be proactive in my undergrad, because I felt like I was kind of scrambling at some points to put things together and talking to professors and getting them to meet on random times, that it's really nice to then be able to see your professors as not just professors, as colleagues, because one day they're going to be that. They're going to be our colleagues. And so talking to them and getting their input and utilizing the times that they have available, I feel like I didn't utilize enough.
I think we could all agree that most, if not all, faculty are more than willing to meet outside of office hours if need be. So that is important. Thank you so much, Taylor. Andrew.
I didn't have much else to add. I think I was actually going to say very similar to what Taylor said. One of the things I love about Johnson Wales is that almost all, if not all, the professors that you have worked or currently work in the realm in which you're learning. And I think that's one of the biggest differences with Johnson Wales and I see with other universities is that a lot of professors at other universities, they learned it. They went to school to be a professor, and that's really all the experience they have in the realm in which they're teaching you now. So like Taylor said, just pick their brains, talk to them about the career, because they all have and lived or currently living lucrative careers outside of being a professor in what you're wanting to do as well. So I know Professor Driscoll, he was a police officer for a very long time. And I talked to him about law enforcement and what it was really like to be a police officer a lot. That's really what guided me into wanting to be a police officer. And really just join clubs, do as much as you can on campus. Played baseball, rugby. I was a student senator. I was in a multitude of different clubs. It really opens your eyes to other facets as well. I joined Law Society my freshman year when I was originally a counseling psychology major, and seeing the law side of things really made me transition, is one of the things that guided me into my transition and wanting to be in law enforcement. And then choose your electives wisely is another thing, because if you're not sure about having an interest in something, but you think even the slightest bit that you might have an interest, try to find an elective that you can take that is in that realm of interest, because it might guide you into a different career path that you never thought you were interested in prior. And then you took a class and loved it, and you realize that's what you want to do now. And don't be afraid to transition. Like other people here said, they were a different major when they started and then switched. Don't be afraid to switch. 30 years, 20, 25, 30 years, whatever, in a career you don't like is a long time. So transition and do what you love.
Andrew,
couldn't agree with you more, Ignacio.
I'm sorry, but Andrew, I really agree with the electives part. I feel like a lot of, I know people who just take the elective to get a credit done, right? I did what you said, for example. I was a liberal studies with a minor in business. I had this inclination towards legal studies. All of my electives were law classes, like law 1, 2, and then hospitality law, any type of law that I could fit in. I threw it in just to get that other approach to the other things that you were interested in. So it was great that you brought that up. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So what qualities do you look for in your younger team members? That's a tough one.
I'll go. Obviously, law enforcement is stressful. I think the biggest thing is flexibility in this career. The political climate right now is definitely not in the favor of law enforcement. So something that you definitely have to adapt to and just kind of be flexible with, realize that you're there to do a job and that's all. And just stay on the right side of that at all times. The biggest thing that I see with newer officers is when they're successful versus when they're not, is a willingness to learn. It's an ever-changing career that in split seconds is constantly changing. If you're dealing with something, it's changing over and over in a matter of seconds. So just willingness to learn, step back, have a perspective outside of your own. Willingness to listen to other perspectives and be very adaptable and flexible is something that in law enforcement for sure we look for in the younger officers. I feel weird saying younger officers. I'm 27, so it's I guess newer officers. I've been there 5 years, but so I started when I was 22. So I guess I was one of the younger officers. But yeah, I'll say newer officers or newer people in the career because I still feel like I'm young. But yeah, flexibility, willingness to listen, learn, and willingness to take on, not just listen to, but take on new perspectives.
Excellent advice.
Yeah, and bouncing out of what you said, I also think that it's really important to, with that willingness, we like resilience. We like you to be resourceful, look for different ways to solve problems. And if you don't know something, ask. Ask as many questions as you can. Not only because if like there's the saying, right? If you ask a question, you're stupid for a second, and if you don't, you're stupid for a lifetime, right? So ask your questions, put yourself out there, because that also gives people like people can know that you are interested in what you're doing and that you want to grow and learn. So if you don't know something, just ask and don't be afraid to do it, because that's the only way you're going to grow and learn. So you know, when I started doing M&A, I had no idea how to read a purchase agreement or like analyze and talk. I'm talking with brokers and people who are like really high up, and I'm like, what am I doing here, right? But it was that idea of, hey, how do you do this, and figuring it out that like keeps your career boosting forward. And now I'm here in Toronto taking care of cross-border deals. So it's a big step, and it's just that, you know, don't stop asking questions. And in our previous sessions, Shannon, I think, mentioned that you should always find a mentor. And I think that mentorships are super important. Find that person who can guide you, and maybe not one, but different individuals in different areas. And that's going to always keep you moving forward. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Shannon, do you want to touch upon anything else that Ignacio had started to say?
Yeah, actually, echoing Andrew and Ignacio's sentiments, I think that asking questions signals engagement. So the more questions you ask and the more engaged you are, the more that folks will want to share with you. Like, person on the other side of the table is going to want to share with you their experience, their perspective. With that being said, for when I'm looking at like ideal team members, someone with a different perspective is always really interesting to me, both in academia and in the more creative role that I have now. If the folks that I'm working with, my team members, my colleagues, are always kind of mirroring exactly what I'm doing, there's less room for different ideas to be presented and for those ideas to grow and develop. So I think that healthy conflict or disagreements or differing perspectives really can shape both creative and academic projects. So it's important to have that, to me anyway, it's important to have that dynamic in different group settings.
Wonderful. Christy, anything?
Shannon, sorry, and bouncing off of what you said, when you mentioned team, we need team players. Group work is one of the most important things that you're going to learn in JWU. Once you start working somewhere, and this happens, you know, you'll find you be with your team. If there's someone who's not engaged, you're not going to engage with them. You're just like, they're just going to slide, like, you know, like, yeah, you might be on the contract or whatever, but you're not going to move forward, because people want someone who's willing to do their job and help you do more. And if you're in a team, and you need to like fulfill your role, do your part, and always look for improvement on the actual project, right? Don't strive always strive for that A+ and push that with your team, right? And yeah, teamwork is crucial in everything. So if you're not a team player, it's I only work with my teams, so you need to be able to be working along other people.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially in advertising. We're always bouncing ideas off each other, and it's important that we're all there and respectful of each other's ideas, but also have a difference of opinion. So it's just important as a group that you're able to work together.
Wonderful. Okay. So a final question before we open up to the audience. Would each of you leave us with one final piece of advice that you believe students need to hear before beginning their careers? What is one final piece of advice you believe students need to hear before beginning their careers?
Oh, I'll start, I guess. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. Like I said, transitioning majors was incredibly uncomfortable. It was terrifying because I was like, what if I then, my sophomore year, I don't like criminal justice? Now I have to transition again. But the bottom line is being uncomfortable is where you grow. I know it's such a cliche saying, but it's absolutely true. And it stayed true in college and even in my career path as well. The more you make yourself uncomfortable, the more you're going to grow, the more you're going to learn yourself, the more you're going to learn what you like. And in the end, you'll end up having a much better life, better career, and just be happier in general.
Yeah, I would like to. Oh, you can go.
Go ahead.
Right. The first year when you start working somewhere, like, do your best. Like, work as hard as you can, because that first year, once like you work as hard as you can, like no one's ever gonna doubt your work ethic, right? Give the best first impression, and like do as much as possible, because after that, then they're gonna be like, that person's capable, that person can do stuff. We want to keep them and move with them. So when you start off, don't start laid back. Like, work late nights and break your back so that you can actually like leave that impression. And as I said, once you work well the first year, and start your careers, no one will ever doubt your work ethic. So
Excellent. Tayla.
Excuse me. I think I want to just emphasize more about making meaningful connections with the people around you, whether it's your professors, your peers, your coworkers, your bosses, supervisors, whoever it is. Those connections will get you a long way, especially like Ignacio said about making or leaving a good impression on them. Because oftentimes it's about who you know more than what you know, which is, I mean, it goes hand in hand, but who you know is, in my industry at least, I'm finding that is more important. Like, I've already received a few different like freelance opportunities from people in the control room over the off season because I left a good impression. And again, like Andrew said earlier about willingness to learn, I showed a lot of drive and a lot of, like, obviously this was my first year working in a control room. I had hardly any idea what was going on, but I showed that I wanted to learn and I showed that I was capable of doing so. So I think that it goes a long way, and meaningful connections will lead you to more opportunities in the future.
Perfect. Christy.
I definitely want to reiterate that ask questions. It is so, so, so important. I wish I asked more when I was in college, and now I find myself asking all the time at my job. But my boss and all of the managers around me are so welcoming and so happy that I'm willing to ask the questions. They'd rather you ask than not know when you're asked to do something.
Perfect. Taylor.
I agree with what everyone said, but I also want to preface the fact that I feel like when you're in college, especially JWU, we're very focused on the future. It's what jobs are you going to get, make your connections, do the things, be in the clubs, be in the sports, and you blink and it's gone. Like, I'm sure everyone that's sitting here can testify that we blinked and it's gone. JWU is wonderful at showing us how to strive for the future and constantly keeping a forward-thinking mentality. But what I recommend is stand in Gaby and drink a coffee and just be for just like a minute. Like, give yourself a minute to be a college student, not a possible marketing major, not a law enforcement officer, not a psychologist. Like, drink a coffee and stand in gay, because you're never going to be a JWU first year student really ever again. You know, you're going to be an employee for the rest of your life, or a business person for the rest of your life. But really like take in the fact that JWU was a really cool place. Like, go to Harborside and stand by the water. And just don't forget that, although like your future is really important and the professors are there pushing you really, really hard, just it's going to be gone. So don't forget to just breathe.
Wow, I think every sentiment said by each and every one of you is so important. And I know these are sentiments I'm sure faculty, and I know faculty have said, but hearing it from alumni, I feel is so, so important. I just want to remind everyone, we're going to start opening questions up to the audience. So please type in your questions into the Q&A section and I'll read them to our panelists. Shannon, any final thoughts before we open it up?
Sure. I would say that, first of all, I have a healthy respect for folks who start college or leave college and know exactly what they want to do, what field they want to pursue, but that it is 100% okay to not know what you want to be when you grow up, because I'm still figuring it out. And I think that having that sort of more open perspective has allowed me to pursue different both creative and academic opportunities that I might not have if I had stuck with my original career path, which was human resources and business management. I think like almost everyone here, I'd switched my major, and I think it's okay to remain a little bit open. If you are engaged in the process of learning and doing, and you're feeling that like that racing in your heart or that little bit of discomfort, you're probably on the right path. And the professors and staff that are supporting you will kind of tease your talents out of you, and the positive relationships that you make in the professional world, or to Ignacio's point, the mentor-mentee relationships that you develop will also kind of hone the ultimate direction that you go in, but be open to different possibilities.
Wonderful, thank you. So looking at the first question that's come in, did anyone participate in the study abroad program? And if so, did this impact where they are now? And what connections do they feel they have, or what advantages do they have compared to their competition? Did anyone participate in study abroad? Okay.
No, Ignacio had written a response to that as well under the question written.
Okay.
And I kind of, going off of what I saw him write, I did not do the study abroad program, but I didn't really mention this because it didn't lead to my career in any way, shape, or form. But it also kind of goes into what Taylor said about living in the moment and just kind of enjoying your life as well, and not being focused solely on the future. Right after I graduated college, and not go straight into a career, I moved to Australia and lived there for a year. I lived in Sydney, Australia for a year, strictly to play rugby. Went over there just for that, just for fun. Had no career path going on. Was not looking into going straight into a career path, just living in the moment. But to touch on some things I did learn there, not strictly law enforcement, just life in general for the most part. I think traveling overseas and living overseas, if not able to be for an extended period of time, just at all, traveling as much as possible overseas is a phenomenal experience. I'm sure in the business world, especially, somewhat in the law enforcement realm as well. Obviously, that's really the only realm I can speak to for the most part. But seeing how other countries operate, seeing how other countries live, seeing other economic systems, seeing other law enforcement agencies, it gives you not only just a greater appreciation from your own, if we do have a good one in whatever realm you're looking at that time, but just in general, just seeing how other countries operate really gives you a different perspective into how this country does things we can do better, things that we do well, and we can make better. I know Capitol Police alone, we started taking a lot of how we handle protests and things. We actually take from the way England and Australia handle protests. And I've actually assisted in forming some of those programs we have now, and some of the directives that we have in our protest response. And we've modeled them a lot off of how England and Australia do it, because I experienced it in Australia. There was protests going on when I lived there, lockdowns going on, not COVID related. This was well before that. But yeah, traveling overseas, going overseas. Like I said, I didn't strictly study abroad through the university, but I did live overseas for a year. And I'm sure Ignacio can touch way more on this. Being an international student, having lived in other countries as well. Yeah, going overseas is an absolute eye-opening experience and something I think that everybody should try to do if they have the ability to do so.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andrew. Yeah, I agree completely. I'm a multinational person. I was born in Ecuador. I lived in Colombia and Chile, the US, UK. My family lives in Spain. So, and now I'm in Toronto, right? And I don't know anybody in Toronto at all. Like the people who I worked with, I met them through Zoom. And right now, my Saturdays consist of walking around the city and, figuring it out. So it was a big challenge, right? Putting yourself out there because, you're out of your comfort zone 100%. I don't know. As I said, I don't know anyone here and I have 3 years here to go. But with what you said, just putting yourself in those new circumstances where you're going to get new perspectives is really important. And JW's study abroad program, I think, is a great opportunity for people to take it to do that. Not only because you're engaging with other cultures and new perspectives, but because you're also learning while you do it, right? And you're just building your career with new adventures and new perspectives. So it's just intertwined into a great experience. I think that it's one of the best things that JWU has to offer. So if you can take the study abroad, take it, and it'll also look good in your resume because it says all right, I looked to live somewhere else, and it shows that you're not afraid of getting out of your comfort zone either. So yeah.
Thank you. Great advice. So the next question I have from our audience is, what have been your experiences with work or internships during the summer months? You've talked a lot about the academic year. Any recommendations or suggestions for how to navigate the off months?
I'll go a little bit. I guess I'm going to go a little bit different direction. I enjoyed my summers. I took it as time off. You work hard all year long. Not saying internships or taking classes in the summer is bad if you can swing it, but also, like Taylor said, enjoy your time. You only we're probably in our 20s, early 30s, I would imagine. Just enjoy it because it does go by really fast. Even being 27, going close to 30, I'm 5 years in a career. It's just don't let it fly by. Don't sit there and say, I wish I could have done this or I wish I had done that. I'm someone that enjoyed my summers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big proponent of just enjoying a little bit of time off you have from pushing yourself hard and packing on a workload, because college stuff, there's no doubt about it. You have to do all your work, worry about internships, worry about clubs and sports, worry about getting all your work done, worrying about having a social life as well. It is important to have a social life. Work is important, school's important, but have a social life, enjoy your life. You never want to look back and be like, I wish I had done, I wish I did this. So I'm a proponent. I loved taking time off in the summer. It was my time to relax, my time to decompress, and I took full advantage of it. I don't know if that's the right answer that anybody's looking for, but it's my answer.
There is no right answer, just like you said, Andrew. It's your answer. And I think that's really important to share that, as Taylor said, be in the moment. Shannon, I think you wanted to add to this conversation.
I would just add a different perspective. I was really afraid of losing momentum, so I leveraged the online school during the summers, and I also completed my internship. I felt like if I was already working and taking classes during the school year, I was very afraid of losing that momentum. So for continuing ed students, it is a really nice, or adult students, it really, you know what I mean. It really is a nice feature to have, to be able to take classes online or to be able to take summer classes on campus and kind of decrease the amount of time that it takes to earn your degree.
Yeah, and to add to that, well, first of all, I actually did work throughout all my summers and internships. I looked also for outside work and stuff. So I worked since my freshman, sophomore, junior. My senior year, it was the only year I said I'm gonna enjoy my summer, and took a break from everything because it had been 4 years of just pounding on everything. So I was like, all right, let's stop for a bit. And then I started the master's. But I think that use the resources in the university, not only available to you through the university, but also like your professors. For example, one of the courses that I took was I went to Harvard Extension School, and one of my professors, Emily Lynch, she put me in contact with one of the professors in the Kennedy School of in Harvard, and I was able to meet another professor in another institution and take credits there. So if you look out, like don't just like diversify, right? Look outside your bubble, out of your comfort zone, move to another place, look for different things. Yeah, if you want to enjoy your summer, go for it 100%. As you say, I mean, I don't know when the next full summer vacation will ever exist, right? So right now, you know, I got my calendar vacation days scheduled, and that's it. But so take yeah, as Andrew said, like do take advantage of the time that you can like use to enjoy your current stage in life, and do it. And you can also look for doing courses, always look to learn and find things outside of what you do. Volunteer work is also great, and there are plenty of opportunities. You know, just look to diversify and find new programs over the summers, so that if you want to do something, you can always put something in your resume, right? So go for it.
I totally agree. I think that you should take as much time for yourself as you can, especially during your college years, because like Ignacio said, it's never gonna happen again unless you go into teaching, I guess. But like for me personally, like I said, I work in baseball. So I don't get, like, summers is when I work pretty much exclusively in the summer, very long hours, because I mean this past summer, all of July, it rained almost every day. I think I worked 14 double headers this past season, and it was outrageous. But enjoy as your summers, and enjoy as much personal time as you can. In my field, if you're going into like videography or photography, if you are taking those breaks, just make sure to practice, is my best advice, because if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. And there's been a few times where like I hadn't edited a video in God knows how long, and then I get assigned a project and I'm like, oh, like I remember I did this task one time, but I don't remember how I did it. Just practice as much as you can, even if it's just like making silly videos with your friends, or vlog style videos, or editing photos, taking a walk around the park kind of thing with your camera. Just practice if you do decide to take time off.
Nice. Anyone else? Okay. So another question that's come in from our audience is, what advice would you give to students who are struggling to balance 5 courses and part-time work outside of class, apart from extracurriculars or sports and social time? What lesson have you learned about time management that you can pass along to our students?
I'll take this one. So yeah, I was kind of the same way. I did the 4+1 program. So like kind of leading off the past conversation, I definitely loaded up classes in the summer. I would take 5 classes, was in a sorority, was on the tennis team, was in CAT, was in like the psychology program group that we had on campus. Did a lot of other extracurricular activities that I can't, it's on my resume, I swear. But so I get it. I get juggling classes, extracurriculars, social time, work, to internships on top of it, is a lot. What really kind of helped me was using like the planner on my phone. And then also like kind of interesting thing that I've recently learned in my master's is that to save me a lot of time and effort, I use a lot of the text to talk. stuff. Whenever I'm like was writing papers or had to like create memos for myself, I would utilize my time when I was driving or utilizing like the Wildcat wheels to go grab my car from Harborside when I needed to really maximize any time that I had when I sat down. So I would write a draft of a paper by using my notes app and just talk to text and speaking my paper, because then it would help me like get out my thoughts organically. And then I could go in and revise and see where I had run-on sentences and where I needed to tailor it. But it really gave me at least a rough draft of like my thoughts and had my paper started for me. So then it felt like I didn't have so much on my plate. I really would try to start everything once I first got it in my classes, at least so I had the document open and on my laptop, so I knew where I was at in my writing process. So that was the way that I did a lot of my time management things, and that I utilized a lot of downtime driving or in the Wildcat wheels to really help me just get a lot of things on my list, at least partially checked off. And then also talking to my coach, letting him know when I had a lot of things on my plate. He was really understanding. Talking to my job, letting them know if I had different activities that I had to do, and really prioritizing my life helped out in what categories I felt that I needed to attend to first and what others I could follow suit after.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? I think in addition to time management, we're certainly, we want to be able to support our students as best as we can. I feel as if feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed is another area that if anyone could touch upon that, how you were able to manage your stress levels while you were at Johnson Wales, I think our students would greatly appreciate that.
So I'd like to jump in there. I think that when pressure and work is always gonna it becomes overwhelming, and I think that the best thing to decompress is focus on the things you really like doing. Always leave, like, time management is crucial, of course, but always make time for those things that make you happy. I love the outdoors, so whenever I found a spot or a moment that I could jump off, I would drive off and I'd spend 2 days camping and come back and just be alone. And I like that. I like to be outside fishing, hunting, riding horses. That's what I like. And if I can put a little bit of time doing that, I'm happy to like reload and keep doing my life and keep moving forward. I think it was Alfred Lord Tennyson, the English poet, said that the happiness of man does not consist in the absence, but in the mastery of his passions. So if you always give up time to do what you like to do, that stress will always start recircling, right? You'll be stressed, you decompress, you do what you like, you recharge, and you go again, right? And you keep doing that cycle over and over again so that you can. It's like a marathon, right? It's not a race. So look for time and look for time to do the things that really make you happy, because that's the best way that you can manage stress, is by doing the things that make you feel wholesome. So
I couldn't agree with you more. Anyone else want to talk about advice on managing stress? Okay. I don't see any additional questions from the audience, but I definitely say that's because you guys have touched upon everything that I know I would love to tell our students here. I'm so impressed with all of you, and it's definitely a proud moment for the College of Arts and Sciences having all of you here today. So I would like to thank our alumni for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be with us today. You all are a wealth of knowledge, and the experiences you shared with us were inspiring and so appreciated. Please stay connected with us, because we are so proud of all of you. Students, we hope that you found this information insightful and helpful for navigating your own career path. But before we conclude, there is one question that just came in, so I definitely want to make sure that we answer all the questions. One student did ask Andrew, if you're comfortable enough answering this question, they would like to know what the Capitol riots were like.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll talk about it. I mean, it was hellish. I don't know how else to really describe it. It was really just like something out of a movie. I don't think I'll see another day like that in my life. Hope I don't see another day like that in my life. I was in the thick of it. I was out of work for 42 days after that with injury, tore my rotator cuff, severely concussed. Face was all bloodied up. It was a rough day. Got bear sprayed, OC sprayed probably about 8 times throughout the day. Flashbangs. Like it was a war zone for the day on Capitol Hill. Yeah, definitely a rough day indeed. I don't know if they have any specific questions about it. I'd be happy to answer them. I have no problem talking about it or anything else involved in that day or the days after. I don't know much else to speak about it in broad spectrum, but if they have any more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them for sure.
I just love how you started off saying like, oh yeah, it hasn't been as interesting. Like, come on, man. That's, that's
I meant I didn't have anything too interesting in regards to like leading into my career. Like nothing really.
No,
The
you
career
get
itself has been interesting for sure. I definitely have dealt with a lot of tragedy, a lot of bad days, but I don't know, you deal with the stress.
You gave us a great approach. Also, the way you got there was awesome. So it's really insightful. Great
Thank you.
here.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions about the 6th. I know it's a hot topic that people love talking about, so I'm no problem talking about anything.
I think that was it. They just kind of, and I'm sure, oh, hold on. One additional question just came in. Well, I don't know if you're able to answer this. Maybe this is more of just your opinion.
Yep.
But a student is asking, shouldn't the people who tried storming the Capitol get 20 years at least or life?
I can't speak to the legal process. I don't know the full law around what they're charging them with, because I know some people are being charged with just entering the Capitol. Some are being charged with assault on police officers. I don't know what terms those carry specifically for this District of Columbia or when they're being charged at the federal level. But if they're, it really just depends on what they're being charged with. I wish I could be a prosecutor. I'm not a prosecutor. I don't fully know the terms for every crime that's committed or what plea deals are being agreed to. If you want my personal opinion, I would love for them to all be charged, but at the highest extent possible. But that's just me.
Well, we certainly thank you for your service that day, and we're just glad that you're okay.
There you go.
And we're glad that Tayla, you should have a break now that the World Series is over. So
Yeah.
time off. So
I'm glad the Braves won. That's all.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Everybody outside of Houston is.
Yeah.
Agreed. So again, thank you all. This concludes today's session. Although a virtual presentation does not lend itself to post-event mingling, please feel free to connect with the alumni on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. And I really wish everyone to have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.